Haven't chat with this guy in quite some time. I saw him locally at a few different Battlefield Fight League events. He had a fight fall out. He had a fight where he won. He is Mitch Strazzella, and he will be fighting August 30th, Samurai 11, making the trek out east. Thanks for joining me today, Mitch.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. It's been a while.
It has. It has. Now, we look at your record here. You picked up a decision victory over Victor Bordage, and you sort of bounced back and forth between losses, wins the last few fights. How good does it feel to get a win there? And I mean, like, that was in February. Your fight's in
Yeah.
August now. You haven't been the most active competitor this year. What's the reasoning for that?
Yeah, which is weird because I was super active for it was like 2 years. Once I had my first pro fight, it was like nonstop. Um, yeah, I wanted to be booked in May, but Battlefield just couldn't get anyone, or it was, they actually asked me while I was preparing for Victor if I wanted to fight for May. And I told them like, hey man, like let's just get through this and then kind of go from there. And then after the fight, I said, okay, I'm good to go. And they said it's too late. You're gonna have to wait till the summer. So and then I have a contract with them, so I couldn't really go anywhere else. So it was kind of like just stuck in limbo. And it was okay like to take a little bit of time off and get a little better, but it's been a while now, so it is a little frustrating.
Yeah, and in terms of time off, I know you spend some time in Squamish with Cole and teaching and helping out there and stuff. So, talk about the growth since making the move there and doing stuff with Cole and you said this amount of time off, you've found ways to improve your game. Just talk about those improvements.
Yeah, I still live in Victoria. When Cole had to take a trip, he was going to Thailand, so I covered for him while he was gone, which is great. Like I teach in Victoria at my gym, Pedirex, anyways. So, but he like left me the keys and said, just like, you know, go with it. So, yeah, I ran the gym for like 2 weeks or so, and that was great. And he is my coach. Like in Victoria, I don't really have an MMA coach, so I have to split my time. I'm still like improving in Victoria. I still have a good gym. I have a good team. I have like John Cooch there, my jujitsu coach, and Stan Pederak, my striking coach. But for MMA, it's Cole. So when I'm coming out here, he is my coach, and it's a little different, right? Victoria is smaller. There isn't MMA realistically. I mean, I'm the only one who really runs an MMA program, so it's kind of up to me. But it's on me to improve regardless. So I still train jujitsu, train all the disciplines, and then when I come out here, we kind of like throw it all together a little more. So
Let's touch on that a little bit. You say you're the one in charge of making yourself better, basically. So do you come up with that plan then, or Cole as your coach? Does he come up like, maybe you'll head to Universal and train with those guys? Maybe you'll bounce out to other places. Like, talk about, is that on you or is that on Cole as your sort of head coach now?
it's both. Of course, we communicate. Like he'll be like, "Yo, like I want you, doing this," or if I have a question, we know what to work on. We have, work on everything, but for sure when I come here, like when I work with day hands, just like your left hook sucks. Work on your left hook. Okay, dude. Like for the next couple months, every time I come home, work on your left hook. With Cole, he's big on grappling, so we'll touch base. Hey, man, I want you doing this kind of thing. And he knows I'm in good hands with my coaches, anyways, like I just said. So yeah, it's on me, but of course, like we still communicate. You know what I mean? I'm still communicating
Yeah.
with my other coaches too, like Aso Polini. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's my wrestling coach. He's a great training partner. I was just training with him like an hour ago, and so yeah, it is on me ultimately.
Of course. I myself, I always say when we have a Mitch Strazzella fight, it's never going to be a boring fight. You get in there, you put on the show, win or lose, it's going to be a banger. This last fight, Victor Bordage, like you said, you came out the or like we said, you came out the unanimous decision victor. What do you take
Yeah.
away from that fight?
Man, that might have been my most boring fight, you know, and it wasn't that boring, but it was like it was a different fight. I think it's interesting if you watch like my first pro fight, which we talked about like last time, the first time I was on here. It was just like that fight was insane. You know, that was the most damage I've ever taken in a fight. And so like going from that, like there was no takedown attempts in that fight to now fast forward to this and just seeing like the growth of like, you know, that was Victor's first MMA fight, but he had more fights than me. He had like 30 plus Muay Thai fights and you know, so it's like do you want to just stand with someone like that? Like no, like let's exploit his weakness, which used to be my weakness, I guess, right? Like that's how I was losing fights. Um, so I just exploited him. You know, I did what I had to do, and you know, I was happy with some things, and there's some things maybe not so happy with. But like the growth of my martial arts game, I am happy with, and you can see it in that fight. And so, you know, we can see that I can do a little bit of everything. You know, I'm not just like some boxer. That's what I was labeled as. Like
Yeah, a lot of your fights were definitely, this guy
yeah, yeah.
has the puncher's chance, and then if it gets gritty, you're gonna try to grind him against the cage and stuff like that. But you showed a well-rounded performance in that one, and you said going into the fight, even in your training camp, Battlefield asked you if you wanted to fight in May. That obviously didn't come to fruition, so we're waiting until August 30th with Samurai. I'm guessing Battlefield and Samurai have sort of like a deal together where they can utilize some of Battlefield's fighters since they use Dan as well and stuff like that. So talk about how this all came into fruition.
Well, yeah, exactly. Dahan fought for them. I think that was like in February last year, or this past February. Um, yeah, I was like hounding them, like, okay, like when's your card? What's going on? Okay, you're September 6th. Okay, I'll prepare for that. Okay, who's it gonna be? Well, okay, we don't know. Maybe if a Min wins, then we can do you guys, and then Amin didn't win, and then that Battlefield card is like has a lot of good fights, so they just you know not that I got kind of left out, but they booked their whole card, and what can I do, right? So I just like kept hounding, like, well, where can I fight? Like, what can I do? Like, can put me on the prelims or something then? And then they said like, okay, like I think we have something for you, and they got me in touch with Samurai, and then still wasn't sure, and now I got a contract, it's signed, and then that's it. So they have a good thing going, and I'm happy. It's going to be a different experience flying out, cutting weight, and you know, enemy territory.
Not a terrible thing. It's sort of, it probably will be nice to get out of the backyard. I mean, obviously you're from the island, but still fighting in Vancouver is basically your backyard. You have fans come out to it. You train on the
Now I do.
mainland. Yeah. You train on the mainland. So flying out east, you'll have none of the expectation. Like you say, you're going into enemy territory. Will Cole be flying out with you?
He
He
will.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're taking on this guy, the African assassin, which that nickname's already been used, Alain Majorique. He picked up a victory over Amin as well. So you
Yeah.
have a loss to him. He has a victory to him. This guy's 3-0. You've got more fights than he does. What do you know about him?
Yeah. Well, first of all, MMA math is hilarious, right? Because I beat Manny, Manny beat Amin, Amin beat me, and then Elaine beat Amin. So it's like, so obviously I'm going to lose the fight, of course, right? Um, what I know about him, yeah, he's 3-0. I know, and yeah, he beat him in. He has two submission wins, so he looks good. Um, I don't know if it's nothing like I haven't really seen before, to be real. But I know if me or him, if we want to get to the next level of like a contender series or something like that, we have to fight and we have to beat each other. Like one of us has to win, you know. So especially like me, like I'm 4-2. I got a no contest, and I'm fighting. You know, this guy's like 3-0. You know, he's getting some hype, right? Um, yeah. What happens when we go to contender series and fight a guy that's like 10-0? You know, or like 12-2 or something. You know, these monsters. So it's not an easy fight, but it's what we have to do. We have to fight each other. We have to see like who's gonna move on and who's gonna get their dreams shattered, you know, that night. So yeah, it's a good fight, you know, and he took it. It's hard to find fights like talking with Battlefield. It's like it is hard to find fights, and I'm not gonna fight below me. I'm gonna fight above me in the BFL rankings. So there's only so much I can do, really.
Well,
So,
and that happens, right? Like like you said, you're 4-2. The record doesn't show that you're like this astronomical guy, but you had an amazing amateur career as well. You fought a ton, and so locally, it will be definitely tough to find fights. Now, a couple things off of that contender series talk you're saying there. Do you first off, I guess, do you feel like you'll you'll do anything to win this fight? Like in your last fight, you said you had to do what you had to do to win it, and it was just a gritty performance, maybe a boring one. Do you think 5-2 gets you to the contender series, or do you feel like you're gonna go in there and you need to do what you have to do to win to get 5-2? Then maybe the next one will get you to the contender series.
well, I said a couple months ago that I'll be a champion by the end of this year, and then I think a contender series could happen because I think unless you have just insane fights, you can get signed. But I think you have to have like a regional title. You know, that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm thinking two more fights and then a title. So this fight, and then that'll propel me to a title shot, either maybe with BFL or Samurai. Win the title, and then realistically maybe defend it once, and then something like a contender series, something like that. That's what I visualize. But I see like these next two fights are like really important, really big, and then we go from there.
Makes sense completely.
Yeah.
And do you know timeline? So this fight's in August, Battlefield's in September. I'm guessing if you're saying if your victory here would propel you to a title fight, Battlefield and Samurai's next events are likely December, yeah?
Probably like November, December. BFL always like I remember when I fought amateur, they always did like November 16th all the time.
Yeah.
You
They
know,
also
so
typically had year-end shows as well though. So like they threw
yeah,
sort of back-to-back ones November, December. So
yep.
could be interesting. Title at the end of the year for Mitch Strazzella is what he's looking for. In terms of this fight, like you said, he has two submissions. He's 3-0. So have you seen tape on him?
Yeah, well, I've seen as much as I can really see. The Amin fight, like I watched that live, and then I think there's like a highlight or something of like him choking someone out. I think that was like at 140 or 145. Um, but I can see like what I'm dealing with. Like I can, you know, I've been around this game long enough. I see.
And at the end of the day, once you get punched, most of the game plan goes out the window and you have to rely on yourself anyway. So, more than likely, you have to prepare yourself rather than prepare for the other guy, correct?
Definitely, yeah. It's about me, like getting in the best shape possible, and like, of course, like there's certain things like we're gonna prepare for, but yeah, it's about me and just getting in the best shape possible, having a good weight cut, and that's it. You know what I mean? I think I always think like that first pro fight. You know, if I can ever be that guy again, I don't think anyone beats that guy. That was a really hard training camp, but that's always what I base it off of. Like, dude, if I just train like this and I do this, it's going to be pretty hard to beat me. You know what I mean? And
100%. And I said that to you when I interviewed you the first time, man. That you against JR was one of the craziest fights ever. A lot of people counted you out of that fight, to be honest with
I
you
know.
going into it. And the striking prowess in that fight like you said, you were called a boxer, but in that fight you were a complete fighter. You sort of looked
Mhm.
like the Bilal Muhammad of last night in that fight where you utilized the boxing to set up the takedowns, which is brilliant. If if yeah, I know it was your first pro fight, but that version at an excelled pace is definitely probably unbeatable.
That, like, yeah, man, that version, I really don't think anyone beats that version, and it was really hard to get to that version of me because, man, I trained like so hard. My technique, that's what's funny, is like I wasn't training with Cole or anyone, so I just trained hard, and my mentality was like, man, fuck you, like. I'm not losing this fight. I'm not losing this fight. That's all I kept thinking. Like, I'm not losing this fight. And then I got backstage and I was like, whew, like,
And
whew.
you could see it though, like even in the fight, like you after the round you'd look at like the people in the crowd and stuff, and like because the crowd was all for JR
Oh
100%,
yeah, yeah,
right? And you'd be looking around like, yep, that round was mine, yep,
yeah,
that round was mine. And so
yeah.
yeah, that was a wicked performance. And I, again, man, if you could replicate that with the technique like you said you've sort of garnered now, that'd be insane. So, with that, before I let you go here, then you're flying out to the East Coast. You're fighting Samurai 11 against this African assassin. What can the East Coast expect out of Mitch Strazzella?
Yeah, they can expect, I mean, I want to say a barn burner, but, you know, the thing is I don't think I would win a decision there. So it needs to be like definitive, and it needs to be, like I just don't think it can be close. So it's going to be a high output, high energy fight. And I just think this fight will come down to a battle of will. He's good. I'm good. We have our strengths and whatnot. So we got 3 rounds. We got 15 minutes to figure this out. And it's going to be, usually when I win fights, I break people. So it's going to be about who breaks first for this one. That's what
That's
I
what I
see.
see. You heard it here. It's Who Breaks First, Mitch Strazzella, African Assassin, August 30th, Samurai 11 in Montreal, I believe. And this guy looking for a title shot at the end of the year with a victory here. Mitch, thanks for joining me today, man. If you got any shout outs or sponsors or anything like that, man, the floor is yours.
Yeah, last time I screwed this up. So yeah, I would like to thank a couple people. I got it written down just so I don't lose track. My first sponsor for my first pro fight was Carmana Wood Design. Aaron, he's the man. I really appreciate it, man. Tomahawk Tree Cutting Service, also my first sponsor, my first pro fight. Supplement Kings, thank you for everything. Vic City Barbers, Fortress Tattoos, and also Raylene Pace. She's covered a lot of my expenses of getting out to Vancouver, and yeah, that means a lot because this is very, like, I'm leaving Victoria, I'm leaving my job to compete, and I'm not making any money right now, so this means a lot, and she has like covered like me coming here, like all my gas money, like all like the travel expenses. It means a lot, and uh, they aren't a sponsor, but they are a group that I do believe in, and it's a good friend of mine who runs this. So okay, the IG is Alliance Veterans Retreat, and then the online would be allianceadventureretreat.com. And so basically, what they do is it's for veterans with PTSD and stuff like that. So um, and there's just not a lot of awareness. So what they do is they take them to like a remote location of like a somewhere in the Philippines, something like that, and it's a lot of like bonding experiences. So they have a group of like 10, say, people that have you know been through some traumatic situations, and they take them like cave dwelling and scuba diving and doing karaoke and all these things, and it's a very beautiful thing, and I don't think there's like enough outreach about it, and I know they're really trying to get that going and spread the word, but I don't see it enough. So I'd like, they're not a sponsor, but I'd like to get that out there. So again, on Instagram, Alliance Veterans Retreat, and then online Alliance Adventure Retreat. If you know anyone who has served and is struggling with any sort of PTSD, they have a retreat, and I think they have one at the beginning of September. So, you know, check that out. I wanted to get that out there.
Awesome, Mitch. August 30th, as I said, have fun out east, man.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it,
Appreciate it,
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Awesome.